Bases dropped on the Power Hour. So what did I miss? No, I had to. I had to leave town. Was gone for about 25 hours. Missed the morning show, and we now know that Maddie has the launch codes. Maddie now has the launch codes, and when Maddie joins us, we'll discuss her episode of Cruising Through MLS, and we will find out what she found out now that pitchers and catchers have reported for Atlanta United, otherwise known as strikers and keepers, and everybody in between. We've got a signing, all these kinds of things. It is a power hour, evening pars, and Jarrett has promised offline that this could go very soccer over there-ish. Maddie.
I wasn't ready for you to throw me in.
Why not? Well, all right, so fine. Then what I'll do this. There. You're not thrown in. So basically what we're going to do is Maddie's got the launch codes, as you found out this afternoon. So Maddie went cruising through Atlanta United, cruising through Major League Soccer, and she got to catch up on the media opportunity at the beginning of spring training. So we'll catch up with her on that. Dax McCarty said some really interesting things, and what we may do is see if we can track down our friends at the particular show that he was on, Major League Journeyman, Ben Wright. Not that Ben Wright, but a younger Ben Wright was, they caught up with Dax McCarty. Dax said some very interesting things. We'll go over that. We've got, obviously, all the other stuff that's gone on in Major League Soccer today. LAFC is adding teams to their portfolio, and we got dudes that have gone all over the place. And hell, we might even talk the Falcons at this point, because that's what we do here on Soccer Over There. When we do late night stuff, when we do PM stuff, that's like when the sun goes down, it can go like more off the rails than normal. So we'll see where we go. Now, what I will do for opening kickoff is bring Maddie back in and ask if Maddie is ready to start. So you ready?
Now I'm ready.
Okay.
Now I'm ready. Good.
All right. So you now, as I told everybody, you now have the launch codes, and you now know that when you can piece together journalistic thoughts of yours on the network, you now can do that. From pitchers and catchers reporting Atlanta United, they went to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and worked out because the weather was cold as ish, or 3-day-old ish, or whatever you want to phrase it as. They were doing warm-ups and getting their workouts in rondos with Gonzalo Pineda under the roof at the Big Top. Your takeaways, in addition to teasing folks to listen to what you came together, some of your overarching thoughts.
I'm excited for this season, and I think that's been the echoing of a lot of what the other players have been saying. Getting to listen to all the press conferences, because I listened to every single one of them today, which it was a lot of words. A lot of words for me. I threw on my blue light glasses, and I was in it. But I think the overarching message, something that Giakoumakis said too that I love, is he talked a lot about the team's mentality going into this season, and he talked a lot about how it was so different. When he came in at the beginning of the season, no one really had that winning mentality, and then the summer they kind of got it back, which is great. And now he's seeing more of it and seeing all that. And then another thing that he emphasized, which I think this was a quote that was on Twitter going around too, but I also included it in the podcast. He talks about how 30% of your work is what you do in the preseason. And that's very true. And he mentioned something that I didn't even remember too, is that him and a couple of the other new players from last season never got to be a part of that preseason. Mm-hmm. They were thrown into it immediately. So they had to come in, adjust quickly, get this new team together. And, but he said it was great to have that have the preseason to get to know each other better, to learn each other before you go into the MLS season where they're going to be able to do stuff. And listen, I'm a huge fan of these signings, a huge fan. I'm so excited. This is the first time in a little bit that I'm buzzing. I'm it's going to be so cool to watch. I'm so excited. I think we're making all the right moves. I think with Gregerson. I'm excited to see what he does in that back line. We talk a lot about him in the podcast. Dax McCarty, and we also talk about Guzan, the future of Guzan, and what's going to happen there. Which credit to Dukes and Bell for letting us use that little clip, which I really appreciated. Thank you guys for that. But it was interesting to hear him talk about that, talk about his injury, talk about, recovering from that and how he feels now. And I think that goes the same thing for Giakoumakis.
Stian Gregerson is now a part of the fold, and he still has, I believe he still has visas that have to be all orchestrated and everything. So training off to the side. He is a part of the Reindeer games, but he's not fully part of the Reindeer games as of yet. And once again, thanks to Atlanta United, thanks to 92.9 The Game, Dukes and Bell, and you can catch the interview in its entirety on the Odyssey app or on the Off the Woodworks podcast with Jason and what he does with Atlanta Soccer Tonight, one of the busiest men in show business. So we also at 2:00 this afternoon, we got the tease a little before 2:00, and at 2:00 it hit. Polish Power is now a part of what's going on with Atlanta United. Bartosz Sliž is now officially official. $3.5 million from Legia Warsaw. Parzival is in on the night shift, and he says, where does he fit in the midfield? Does he start? Highlight makes him look like he drifts wide. So
it was actually funny. I was listening back to what Carlos Bocanegra said about McCarty. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned something in there about how it wasn't just a leadership thing, that he would also be competing for the midfield. Mm-hmm. And they were bringing in another new signing. I'm assuming that it's Sliž. Mm-hmm. So it makes you wonder how that's going to work, and if it's going to be McCarty and him going against it, or if what that midfield's going to look like. I'm not 100% sure. But to me, that's what that sounded like in that sort of in that press conference. To me, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, I think that what you're going to end up with is a combination of folks. Obviously, Tristan Muyumba is a part of the discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Then it is Jay Fortune, probably some combination of Muyumba, Jay Fortune, and Sliž, and Dax McCarty. And when we had Lucas Panzica, the play-by-play voice of our friends up at #EveryoneIn, the time that it was officially signed, I anticipate, and folks can go back on the network and listen to that particular segment, that Dax coming in, he'll be motivated. We'll get into that in just a second. But I think what you're going to have is Dax with all of these competitions going on. Obviously, he'll be fighting for a starting spot. If he's farting for a starting spot, then we got a problem. But he'll be fighting for that starting spot. With all of these competitions, it would not surprise me if you saw him spot start in Major League Soccer, had him appearing in Leagues Cup, Open Cup, and then being a closer out of the bullpen for the last 30 minutes. Having somebody with his sandpaper coming in, schedule compression, you have all of these different things. Obviously, he's going to be fighting for the starting spot, but we'll see where it goes. But I would anticipate that he would be your closer. What you were looking for Ozzie Alonso, and having him come in, the last 10, 20, 30 minutes and making sure that everything is locked down, being a certifiable pain in the you-know-what, and making sure that Atlanta United goes over the finish line and gets the 3 points. Speaking of Dax McCarty, and you see, I like how you were working Dax McCarty in here without even knowing what the rundown is, just kind of working your way through. And good evening, Tom. Thanks for dropping by. Did you see, and this is a collective question, I don't know if this was necessarily seen by a whole lot of folks, Dax was a guest on Major League Journeyman, and we're probably going to have to go track down this soundbite and see if we can track down Ben Wright, one of the hosts. Major League Journeyman had Dax on, and this is what Dax said. And we'll track down the audio and we'll run it for you, later this week. Hopefully tomorrow if we can track it down in time. So Dax said, and I quote, "After the Leagues Cup final, the club had approached me. They were trying to plan what they wanted to do, and they asked me what my plans were. I said, I love the club. I love the city. I'd love to continue playing. The team made me an offer, and it wasn't disrespectful. It was another pay cut, but it was one where I I could look at it and say, all right, there's probably a deal here. We could probably come to a reasonable agreement here. The way that everything transpired was just pretty strange. I have to say, it felt like just a weird miscommunication of sorts. We went back and forth. I was still focusing on playing well and trying to help the team, and it was kind of in the back of my head. I felt like I played my worst game of the season at the end of the year in the playoffs against Orlando, and then, you wait till the end of the season, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, man, we're moving on. And I said, well, what about the negotiation we were in? I thought we were in a negotiation, and apparently we weren't. The only thing that doesn't sit so well with me is the fact that they never really gave me or communicated a best and final offer to me or a deadline for when they needed to know by. For Nashville fans, from their perspective, just know that in the middle of last year, my first choice was always to come back. So that came out from Ben Wright, Dax McCarty, and Major League Journeyman. I'm anticipating, and we'll get the schedule coming up here in just a second. I'm anticipating, Maddie, that Dax McCarty might be a motivated individual, specifically against a particular club. When Atlanta United and Nashville were to, pair up in the schedule at points.
Absolutely. It reminds me a lot of the Justin Meram with Orlando City. That sort of I don't want to say animosity because I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but the way Justin Meram played against Orlando, it was like a different person, the way that he came out there and did all of that for us. And now seeing Dax McCarty kind of it's a different situation all around, but having that person who's going to be motivated, that to me is wild. You have to communicate that. That's not something you can just throw to chance. To me, that's I don't know if I want to say that. I don't want to put words in mouths.
Yeah.
To me, it's a little bit of poor management. Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you communicate with a veteran player who you're in negotiations with? It's trying to kind of that's, listen, I'm not complaining. We have him now, so I'm not worried about it. He's with us.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see kind of where that fire is going to come into play when we play against Nashville. It's going to be fun.
The first opportunity for Michael Dax McCarty to go up against his old club, his most recent old club, 105 apps, 2 goals, 2020, 21, 22, and 23. That will be on May the 18th at Geodis, 1:30 start on the 18th of May on Apple and on Big FOX. And so that'll be the opportunity at Geodis. And then September 14th at Mercedes-Benz on Apple TV and MLS Season Pass, as the home schedule turns into September 14th, coming out of the international window. It is Atlanta hosting Nashville at Mercedes-Benz. So the 2 dates on your calendar, should you wish to circle them, May the 18th on the road, for those of you who are road tripping. And for those of you who will be home tripping, it is September the 14th. So those 2 dates, Michael Dax McCarty might be the motivated sort in those particular matches. Tom and Parzival going back and forth. And it is, in Tom's mind, it is Thiago, Tristan Muyumba, and Bartosz Slisz. Those are your 3. That would be the midfield. And that's kind of what you're anticipating. Like I said, you've got Jay Fortune, who will be competing for minutes, Dax McCarty competing for minutes, and you're going to have, like I said, you're going to have schedule compression. You're going to have multiple competitions. So you need to have the roster size and the roster depth being what it is to make sure that it's going to work out for you there. And then Pars,
especially with now forgive me if I'm wrong, but Amato is going to be gone for the Olympics.
Yeah, and so that's
we'll have to fill that in a little bit too, depending on how far they make it and how that's going to work.
Yeah, so you've got all of these. You've got international windows. You have the Olympics. You have that competition. You have all of these different things, and so you need to have the depth of field there. And I'd left the Olympics out of the discussion when it came to just general unavailabilities for folks in Major League Soccer. You're looking at Pars and Tom are going at it, trying to figure out what it looks like up top. It's obviously you're probably going to start with DJ Crazy Times on the right-hand side. Sabalob Janidze, Gigi up top, and then on the left-hand side, Shande Silva, Tyler Wolf. You'll have your options there once again. So that's kind of
we can't forget. Listen, Nick Firmino is going to be. Listen,
Nick, you can pretty much plug in anywhere, and when if Jared joins,
he was such a cool player. Like I've watching him a little bit throughout the AU2 season, getting to watch that, and then being at that game where they played Inter Miami in the last season. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and I am so excited to see him get like mixed in with the first team. Oh, I would love to see. I don't know if he will get the start up there, but I would love to see him get minutes and to see what he does with this team, because I think he's going to be phenomenal, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're staring at here once again with all of this depth. You've got Luke Brennan on a homegrown deal. You've got Nick Firmino on a first-team deal, and you're going to need Nick. You're going to need Luke. You're going to need Tyler Wolf. You're going to need Shande Silva. Jamal Chiade having a full training camp, working his way through and figuring out how he integrates in the center. So, evening, Knicks. Good to see you. And so basically, what happened, Knicks and Pars and Tom? Obviously, I was out of town this morning, and it was 13 degrees in Meridian, Mississippi, and so I had to do some stuff there and sprinted back. Of course, when you have a wreck, and I'm imagining this was ice. This was black ice based. We leave story time with John. I feel like we need some kind of music underneath me. Let's see if we can get some kind of appropriate music here for story time with John. Let me see if we get. Let's go through what we have. No.
It's like a medieval type of like.
No. Maybe. No, that's like late night SDH. That's not quite this time frame. Maybe.
It's not bad.
Okay, hang on. That's two. All right, so we'll go here. All right, so story time with John. We left, the boss and I, we left at about, we tried to leave around time we're supposed to check out of the hotels, like 2 o'clock Eastern time. And, we're thinking we're going to make good time, because traditionally from Meridian, Mississippi, back here to Office HD, it's about 5 hours. You add in a stop for food and gasoline. You make a petrol break and a bathroom break, and so you're probably looking 5.5 hours, depending on how NASCAR-ish your pit stop is and refueling the car. We leave a little before 2 Eastern. We don't get to the Mississippi-Alabama line, which is probably a good 17 or 18 miles, before everything stopped. Two lanes of interstate, both directions. So the folks heading west, they were looking at us and they're laughing. They're going, ha, ha, ha. Eastbound, we came to a dead blanket stop. And it was a good half-hour delay, because when we got to the front, we got to see what was going on. And an 18-wheeler was in the left-hand lane. So, 2 lanes of traffic. We're assuming that the 18-wheeler was in the left-hand lane. And he was probably boogieing. He was boogieing east toward Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, and he was trying to take his freight and make his weight and make sure that everything was fine. We get to the front, and we see what happened. There was about 100 yards worth of the metal fencing, instead of like the inside retaining wall. It was like the metal chain link fencing that had been taken out. We're guessing that the 18-wheeler hit some black ice, went into the metal retaining wall, chewed it up, spit it out, and he is sliding probably in the dirt, trying to come back onto the interstate, chewing up the fence line. And he, about 100 yards, he finally makes a stop, and that shut down that left lane of traffic. And they had to bring in the big wrecker. I mean, the big industrial strength wrecker that is the size of the 18-wheeler.
Oh, yeah.
They had to bring in 2 of those to right the 18-wheeler, get it moving in the right direction. And we finally got there and we're like, man, no wonder we were late. And so Yeah, so we would have been on the air probably 7:30 or 7:45, and it was pretty bad. All right, so introductions in the Twitch pitch, by the way. Yeah, so yeah, Nick, so Semi did a rail slide. Yeah, and it was on metal. It was on chain link fencing. It wasn't even on the guardrail. It was on the metal chain link fencing that was there as a substitute that they have in eastern Mississippi. And so he's chewing up the fence, and he goes for about 100 yards before he finally came to a stop. It was pretty bad. Introduction. Bam is watching tonight on the SDH PM Power Hour. Beautiful 12:30 on a Thursday afternoon, because Bam is our resident Australia viewer.
Whoa.
Bam, this is Maddie. Maddie, this is Bam.
Hello.
Bam
That's
is in
so
charge.
cool.
Bam is in charge of the Australian-based LAFC fan podcast. And
Oh,
so
wait, that's so cool.
Bam, Bam is exactly from the future. He is, Nick. You are absolutely correct. So Bam knows what's happening a good 16 hours ahead of us. So he told us all the results in the Women's World Cup along with Bart when he was down there in Australia, New Zealand. Bam lets us know about what's going on in the AFL in footy down under. They're about a good 6 weeks away from the beginning of the season. But Bam, when he's awake and can't go to sleep late at night, he watches the morning show.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool.
So, yes, Maddie, Bam, Bam, Maddie. So now you know. Yes, and so Nick's once again. Yes, he is from the future. And so, yeah, you're looking probably right now, conventional wisdom up top, Gigi Silva and Saba. And, yeah, DJ Crazy Times has ditched the blonde tips, and he looks like he's about to cut. He looks like he came out of Sprockets now. And Nick says that he's going to cut the nastiest EDM album that we will ever see. So
I almost recognize him without like the tips.
I know.
And I was like, who's that? Is that a new signing?
That's Saba. That is Saba time. It's DJ Crazy Times going with the dark look this year in year two. I hope he doesn't turn all Morrissey on us or anything, but yes, Saba went dark this year with the look. So that's your introductions with Maddie and Bam and everybody. So yeah, now that training camp has started, Dax McCarty is going to be in the mix in the midfield. And traditionally, Dax, I think, is one of those guys that you sit there and you go, he's on another team, you go, God, I hate him. But then when he's on your team, you're like, oh, cool. We got Dax McCarty. Yeah. You throw him into a pile. And then so see what happens. So that's the short version of what's going on with Atlanta United, is they are at the big top, and they are getting in all of their work right now with the early parts of training camp going on. And I don't know if they're going to go outside anytime soon at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. Frankly, if it's me, I'm hanging out at Mercedes-Benz under the big top and just doing it right there on the turf.
Yeah, are you kidding? I'm not going outside in this weather.
No doubt. No way. Speaking of LAFC, LAFC, by the way, has taken over storied Swiss club Grasshopper by buying a majority stake from its Chinese owner, Jenny Wang. Deal was announced at a news conference in Zurich as the 27-time Swiss champ became the latest American-backed club in European soccer. Involves a club that was founded in 1886, being bought by one created in 2014. Larry Friedman said some nice things in the prepared copy by our friends at the Associated Press. Stacey Johns is going to join the board, becoming interim president. Declined to reveal the price paid for the Swiss club, which has fallen far from its former glory, according to the AP. Last Swiss title was in 2003. The team was playing in the second tier 3 years ago. LAFC adds Grasshopper to European investments that include Austrian club Wacker Innsbruck. It says it's Wacker Innsbruck, but I imagine it's Wacker because it's Austrian. Also, business projects with Bayern Munich, owning a club in Uruguay and a youth academy in Gambia. So the deal ends Grasshopper's ties to Wolves, which is owned by Wang's billionaire husband, Guo Zhangchang. So, okay. So they were trying to cash out. So, Bam, that's your new story. Bam asking, Will Atlanta United be going after Jamie McLaren, seeing he's turned down a new contract from Melbourne City? Don't quite think. Jamie McLaren is not somebody that I have heard in the rumor mill. So Jarrett, Jarrett might be better served about the rumor mill about those kinds of things to see what's going on there. But no, it's we're halfway through the window, and it looks like we will see what's going on. David, Bam was also the tour guide for the Friends of SDH at the Women's World Cup. That is absolutely true. Clearly a super good dude, nice friend of the show to have. Absolutely. Bam caught up with some of our folks that traveled south for the Women's World Cup, and he was a tour guide, and he was Fodor. He was Rick Steves. He was the tour guide. He was telling folks where to go. So Bam is a Class A dude. That is.
Well, hey, when it's up here in 2026, we'll have to give you a tour.
Oh yeah,
we'll give you a tour of Atlanta up here.
Yep. So Bam is definitely a part of things. Let's see what else has happened. What else has happened that you were looking at today in the world of soccer? I didn't do that. That was not me.
That was me. That was me. I got a text. Whoa! I'm getting spammed right now. I'm so sorry.
Spammed? You're getting spammed? All right. So then, quickly before you get a new spam, what else happened in the world of football today that you were paying attention to?
Ooh,
anything else?
I was really diving into the Atlanta United stuff today. It was like my real first time actually getting to like do a dive into it, because like I've been kind of like, obviously it's been off season and then preseason has been starting up, but like, you know, I've been able to get into the occasional, you know, like, oh, that happened, I got that signing, that's cool. It was my first time really taking a deep dive into it, so I really like put everything into it. I was like secluded in this room for like 3 hours. My mom had to text me and was like, are you alive? And I was like, I'm working, Mom. I'm working.
Everything's cool. It's all good.
Well, we got the FA Cup. The FA Cup happened. Nottingham Forest beat Blackpool.
True.
3-2.
Yeah, Chris Wood found the back of the net again at a key time for Forest, who is trying to avoid getting the hammer dropped on them for FFP. And we will definitely keep an eye on that. The big upset, I think, was yesterday with Bristol City knocking off West Ham. And so Hammer's angst continues in and around David Moyes. Bristol City got a goal early, and then just a silly Said Ben Rama red card that was a part of it. Nix is catching up on things as well, and Nix reminds us once again, Jose out. Jose Mourinho out. And we talked about that when that went down yesterday morning. 9th right now in the Serie A table. Next time Nick is on, we will discuss that. But the question is, once again, with Jose Mourinho, and we talked about this, you know, Nick's when the word came out, and it came out like overnight. So it was one of those where you're like, okay, instead of happening like during the show, like it should, like it never does. It happened like 4:00 in the morning local time. But is 3 years the limit traditionally for Jose Mourinho? And that is where we are right now. It's like it seems, and I'm going to go back over these gigs. It seems like 3rd year is when the problems happen, and that there's a disagreement one way or the other. Or Jose, you're butting heads with the front office. All right. União de Leiria 01-02. Success there. Okay, not real. He goes from Benfica to União de Leiria. Then he goes to Porto, 3 years. Then he goes to Chelsea, 04-07. He was into his 4th season. Inter Milan, 08-09-10, 3 years. Real Madrid, 10, 11, 12, and 13, portions of 3+. Chelsea, 13, 14, 15, 3 years. Manchester United, 16, 17, 18, 3 years. Spurs, 19, 20, 21, 3 years. Roma, 21, 22, 23, and barely getting into 24, so 3+ years. It seems like, once again, Jose Mourinho, you get into the 3rd year of a deal, and you're kind of like, yeah, might be it. 2 to 3 years each and every time. So you know that somebody's going to want to throw money at him. The league that we neither condone nor endorse nor mention publicly throws a lot of money at players around the world. you know that they're probably going to want to throw money at it. And so it will be interesting to see what happens next with Jose. But yeah, Nick says that definitely has a shelf life, 2 or 3 years each and every time out.
Not good.
As someone from I've got Newcastle news, and I don't know if you read what was going on with Newcastle, by the way.
Oh no, I don't know if I caught it. I'm nervous.
You should.
No, you said it, and now I'm nervous.
You should be nervous.
No.
Yeah, you should be.
Oh,
Yeah. Let me see if I can. Okay, so here we go. It's a story from Adam Crafton at The Athletic. And you know that when Adam Crafton has his name to a byline, you know that there's some serious ish going on. So here's the Adam Crafton story from our friends over at The Athletic. Yasir Al-Rumayyan, chairman of Newcastle and LIV Golf, faces being sued for allegedly, quote, having carried out the instructions, end quote, of the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman with the malicious intent of harming, silencing, and ultimately destroying the family of the country's former intelligence chief, Dr. Saad Al-Jabri. The claims are made in legal papers dispatched to Al-Rumayyan at multiple high-profile locations, including St. James Park, during the second week of January. The claims Al-Rumayyan is the governor of the PIF, the state's sovereign wealth fund that acquired the 80% stake in Newcastle back in October 21. Legal documents couriered to Al-Rumayyan at PIF headquarters in Saudi Arabia, as well as PIF addresses New York and London and St. James's Park. The papers asked the Canadian court for permission for Al-Rumayyan and others to be added to an existing court case for a new claim to be brought against him and the others over the new allegations. The claim Al-Jabri hopes to bring against Al-Rumayyan will, if the Canadian courts grant permission, allege that the defendants, including Al-Rumayyan, were directly involved in a 3.5-year campaign to pursue the family of Al-Jabri, the former top aide of Prince Mohammed bin Nayef. For a little Saudi history, bin Nayef was deposed as heir to the Saudi throne by Mohammed bin Salman back in 2017 in a palace coup and has been in detention since 2020. Al-Jabri fled Saudi Arabia, first for Turkey, then to Canada, which is where he's filed the case. In January 2021, a collection of Saudi state-owned firms alleged in a Canadian lawsuit Al-Jabri had embezzled hundreds of millions of dollars of state funds intended for counterterrorism while working at the Interior Ministry. Al-Jabri denies this. PIF is also named in the papers, along with another PIF board member who's listed as intended co-defendants. And so the Premier League, of course, is denying any comment. So that will be the evening's version of requested reading. And so, yes, Amelia wants to check on Alex Pacine. So that is the next piece of story that is attached to our friends at the PIF. So yes, Amelia, we got to check on Maddie when we do these things. We got to check on Alex while we do these things. We got to check on our buddy Dylan Butler when we do these kinds of things. But yeah, when Adam Crafton has a story like that, that's something that made some headlines with The Athletic.
Yeah, and I can see why.
Palace coups and dudes living in other countries and suits.
It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. It's okay.
It's not. It's not. You said bad news for Newcastle. I said, oh gosh. I said, could it get worse?
It was pretty wild, but
it is. That's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And so you're in the 50-50 schedule. I don't want to necessarily, tease. I don't want to steal your prim and properness, but Ivan Toney is looking to come back for Brentford, and he is looking, he said that he wants to play for a team toward the top of the table in his pursuits for titles and championships and things. He says you can never predict the right time for a move. He wants to compete for a top club competing for trophies. Everybody's interested in Ivan Toney, but Brentford is looking for like 9 figures to the left of the decimal place.
Jeez.
$100 million.
Wow.
We won $100 million. We've lost 6 of 7. We're hanging out at the bottom of the table. We're trying not to be in the relegation zone. $100 million for our striker.
Well, it was just like you mentioned that, and then he mentioned, playing for teams, looking for that thing. And I listen, I'm not trying to be mean to Brentford. If anyone's a Brentford fan here, but like I was gonna say, I was like, there had to be a reason why he was choosing Brentford, and
Well, Peterborough United. He was brought up in Peterborough, and Peterborough is the joke is with Peterborough United because Peterborough has a sell-on percentage. They've got a percent of the deal. I think they have a 10% sell-on with Ivan Toney. So if Ivan Toney goes for $100 million, Peterborough United they make out like bandits. $10 million on Ivan Toney to Peterborough United. Posh will be happy about that one. And that's their nickname, Posh. But yeah, so Peterborough United, just like what we talk about with Thiago Almada. And Thiago Almada, the latest there is, I don't think there is any latest. I think we're still staring at the idea of the 22 to 25 million euro and going from there. So
I think it's a waiting game as of right now.
Yeah, it is. By the way, we welcome in Nick Leafy to the Power Hour here on the evening side of things.
Oh, good Lord.
Hey, Nick.
How we doing?
Well, Maddie has the launch codes now.
Ooh, there we go.
And so Maddie got the chance to catch up on pitchers and catchers reporting at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And Gregerson is in. Polish Power, Bartosz Slisz is now in a part of the discussion. So the pieces seem to be coming together, although Gregerson is still waiting on a visa, and he can't quite be a full party yet, but he at least is in. But Slisz is signed until 28, which I thought was really interesting. So we've been kind of going over what folks have been thinking about Atlanta United so far, plus a little stuff going on in England and a little Jose Mourinho while we were at it.
Well, look, here's the thing. There will be lawyers, right? The billable hours are always present in this time of year. Yes. From a visa acquisition side, Jose Mourinho, how much money is he actually going to get in his exit from Roma? That's going to be very interesting. Man was crying. Supporters were crying. And it's like, you were mid.
You were ninth.
If this what brings tears, I really don't know what to tell you, right? From Rick and Morty, your boos mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer. So, I mean, this is, I don't know. It's going to be interesting for Jose. Look, he's gearing up. He won't say it yet, but he's gearing up for the LA Galaxy job. I'm telling you right now.
He's really?
Yeah. When Chelsea was here back in the day when Jose was in charge there, he raved about the weather in Los Angeles, the lifestyle in Los Angeles, how wonderful it was, what a great facility they had, everything. He laid the groundwork years ago. And now that I think his European adventures are over, if he does not take the money of the Middle East, I would not be shocked if he starts reaching out to some MLS contacts, asking about mainly Los Angeles. If it happens, you heard it here first. That's all I'm saying.
So you think it's LAG for Jose?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. With the pieces coming in, we were going over the starting 11 and the depth pieces and all that kind of stuff. With Slisz in now in the midfield, and you've got Jay Fortune, you've got Nick Firmino a part of the discussion. I mean, obviously it's Almada, Muyumba, and Polish Power Bartosz Slisz, we think. But you've got Dax McCarty, who's a part of the discussion, who I think is going to be a spot starter and a closer for you. He's going to be like that fifth guy coming in, the starter that comes in on the fifth day for you.
That's right.
Analogy. When you look at this roster right now, what is sticking in your mind as we have just started training camp?
The depth of that back into the midfield, the ability to have someone in the six who can come in and really shut things down in an intelligent way late in the game. That's not saying anything bad about any of the guys we had in here before, but youth serves at certain times, right? Like, whenever you need high energy, high mobility, frantic energy, youth can serve in that. But whenever you need that savvy veteran who comes in and says, okay, this is the area for the yellow card foul to take place, that quote unquote professional foul. This is how I need to challenge here without drawing a card, because we seem to have a little bit of trouble going on. This is how I can, the back line looks a little shaky. Maybe I can drop in and kind of help solidify that a bit. That to me is the wisdom of age. And to have Dax McCarty just come in that sort of Jeff Larinowitz role is, yep, there you go. Madison's saying it right there. Yes.
Maddie's locking it down. She knows.
Yes. So, yeah, the Jeff Larinowitz role, I think that's critical. And it's something that has been missing since Jeff left. So I think it's, as we've talked about previously on the show, guys, that there are teams, even in the East, who look like they are, building something out of Ultimate Team. And then there are teams that look like they're doing something from Build-A-Bear. So Atlanta, I think, is occupying a great spot right now where they have tenacity, they have athleticism, they have skill, and they can beat you in a load of different ways. Madison, you were there at the first bits of training. What did I miss? Did I miss anything spectacular?
I mean, listen, I wasn't actually there. I got to just listen to all the press conference stuff and everything for that. But I mean, I'm just excited to see the way the team plays, especially with how well it was. We talked a bit about just the midfield and everything. I felt like we had a lot of great stuff in the front. We weren't able to close out in the midfield, and that's why we were able to give up so many opportunities, so many things. It was just so unorganized, and so just everyone was all over the place. No one knew what to do when they had the ball. They were like, "Oh, it's here." Didn't do anything. So I think having these new signings and having that experience with McCarty coming back in and being that sort of big leader, especially with the amount of young players we do have on the squad, I think it's going to be huge. It's going to be great for this side. And I'm excited too, because also you have Schleich. And I think that's going to be great too, because we haven't had a really cool thing since Eric Rometty, at least from what I've seen, which I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Jared has joined us to make it a complete and total fatal four-way here on the SDHPM Power Hour, where the bat signal went out and folks actually answered. Jared, we've been discussing the first go-round of pitchers and catchers reporting, depth in the midfield. We mentioned the Dax McCarty appearance on the Major League Journeyman podcast, where he discussed what the alleged negotiations that turned into non-negotiations were in Nashville, and how Mr. McCarty might be a motivated individual more than two times, but two times specifically this year.
Yeah, he might be. Look, it's another instance of one of my favorite instances where we get to play however you think. Whatever disaster you think your club is, if you look around, you will find that disaster. no matter how frustrated you are with things, if you look around, you will find something that someone else is going to get mad at. So you just choose not to get as mad or live and die by it as much. Dax is already a petty individual in the most complimentary way possible. This should be very fun to watch. This should be. If you can give me 20 games, man, I'm great with it. Very busy schedule. Don't know how many of those even work, but if you can have him come and close down shop at the end of the night, great. Have him start some games, great. Have him be an influence on a guy like Jay Fortune and Torres, who looks more and more like going to be a destructive force in that midfield.
Yeah, man.
Great. And honestly, I know he's not as much of a destroyer. He's got a little fight in him, though, but a guy like Alan Carlson, who will sit there and spray balls, but who will, as he's shown before, despite being 130 pounds soaking wet, with 3 mason bricks in his pocket, he's not afraid to square up and fight people. And if you can have Dax influence guys like that, then it is worth its weight in gold, no matter what you get on top of it.
Maddie, question for either Nick or Jarrett. What is on your mind that you wish to bring to the table?
Oh, geez. I mean, I guess we got to keep it going, especially with how much depth we do have in this squad. What would be your ideal starting 11?
Nick, take it first.
Okay, so let's see. I mean, obviously, you got
Jared, go ahead and open your mic. We'll workshop it. Go ahead.
Well, I've been told I've got to keep it down because my 7-year-old is like screaming at me. You're way too loud, Dad. So, all right. So it's the quiet storm on Soccer Down Here. So
all of a sudden he's turned into George Norrie in our bell.
That's right.
That's your Google search for this show, kids.
I mean, really,
work overnights for multiple years at WGST, and you will become intimately aware of their programming.
Correct.
That's right. So on the back line, we're going to have ourselves a back four. Something marvelous, I think. So I mean, look, I don't. Here's my thing, and I know it's a cop-out answer. I don't care. Here's the thing. I don't care what our starting 11 is going to be. Mm-hmm. I don't, and this is not to dismiss your question, Madison, because it's a good question. It's an accurate question. It's a needed question. But for me, the only people I need to know where Thiago Almada is playing as of next year.
Yeah,
I need to know where, and it's going to be Goose in goal. I think to start with, I want to see how Goose's health is. I think that's critical because ligament injuries, you don't just heal from physically, you have to heal from them mentally as well. And I'm not convinced that Brad was 100% mentally coming back from that ankle injury, which is why you saw some of the hesitation where before he would just explode. There was a little bit of hesitation there. And I think now he's past that far enough that we're going to see him there. We'll see. But I think he's going to be game one, Goose in goal. I want to see, again, Almada. And then I want to see what that back, like if you have Miyamba or you have, Schließ in there, I want to see that pairing. I really want to see that pairing of those guys and see how they complement each other. Miyamba with his ability to break the lines with a single pass, his ability to link that play. But then when you have Schließ in there, and people don't understand this about the Polish league, unless you have been completely nerding out and trying to catch Polish league highlights when you can. That is an extraordinarily fast and physical league when they want to be, and they know how. They are kings of petty. I really want to see how Miyamba and Schließ partner together in the back. You give me outside of that, you have DJ Crazy Times up on the right. You have Silva up on the left. I want to see more from Silva. It just felt like he was unlocking something there toward the end of the year. I want to see how that, the maturation of that. But those are my key things. However you build the team else around them, you're going to have a healthy Gigi at the top. I mean, people gave him grief for the injuries before. The guy had been playing nonstop for like almost 2 years. So, I mean,
that's what I said too, even in the podcast. I was sitting there and it took me a second to think about it. But I mean, this was his first break since I don't know the year, but it's been like, what, 2-3 years?
1972.
Yes, 1972 was Giakoumakis' last. He's been going.
It was his first break since summer of 2022. Because fall of 22, spring of 23, played through the summer of 23 here. This is his first break since the summer of 22.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have him being healthy, and like he even talked about that in some of the press conferences. He talked a lot about how this preseason and this offseason helped him a lot to know his body better and to get back to where he needs to be, both mentally and physically. Because he even said, like, mentally, the injuries really took a toll and everything. But I'll save that if you want to watch the little recap, if you want to listen to that little thing. But one of my favorite things, I think, afterwards, and I kept it in because it's just so great. One of the interviewers who was there was like, "Are you 100% now?" And he was like, "How you feel now?" And he's like, "I feel great now." So I'm excited. Giakoumakis seems very confident, and I'm very excited to see it. Because I want him to see the Golden Boot. I think he's going to do it this year. I'm going to put money on it right here, right now. He's getting the Golden Boot this year.
All right. Okay.
If he had been healthy, it would have been his last year. If he took penalties, it might have been his last year.
Yeah.
He's just not very he has not been a super common penalty taker since, I don't know how many he took at VVV Venlo. He didn't take a lot at Celtic because Celtic's primary penalty taker while he was there was Josip Janovic, the Czech right back, which is weird. They had a right back who was just an absolute sniper from the spot. But to your point, Maddie, it's the thing that I made this point the other day on the Dead Bird app, that if you play for one of the Old Firm teams, you're going to play an unreasonable number of games because you're going to play your 30 plus, almost 40 games in the Scottish Premier League. That is an incredibly physical and cold and brutal league to play in. Like, yeah, you're playing on field turf at places like Livingston at the Spaghetti Hut.
Yes,
but they take a winter break for a reason. Some of those fields in northern Scotland are practically permafrost, and you're playing against teams that are going to bunker most of the time. It's going to be very physical, and he already plays a physical game, but you're playing somewhere between 30 and 40 games in league. There are 2 cup competitions in Scotland. If you're Old Firm, unless you're being managed by Brendan Rodgers actively, you're going to make a deep cup run. So that is another slew of games, probably 4+ games in each cup run, plus European games, at least 8, because you're going to make group stages. And if you get out of group stages, that's even more. I mean, it's a lot of games. It doesn't have the travel that the United States has. The U.S. travel, I still think, is underrated. But yeah, that's he's looking at that point in a calendar year. God, he's looking at over 50 games just playing in Scotland, maybe more than that. And then in the middle of that, to take the move to travel across the country, uproot your life, restart. Yeah, and then play an entire 30+ game season with Leagues Cup and Open Cup and all that jazz. Yeah, I don't doubt it at all. That, man, you're right. It's brutal. I'm sure he enjoyed the mental break from it all. And then he came back here looking like he was going to kidnap one of Liam Neeson's family members.
Oh man, yeah, the stylish photo shoots with all the first day drip, Nick. You pretty much had everybody pegged in the way that you were looking.
Well, look, McCarty, Dax looked like he was getting ready to sell me a used Toyota from Southtown. I mean,
Dax is just he's in dad mode, man.
He is in dad mode. I love it. I love these, like, he just gave the thumbs up, like, that's right, Atlanta, no money down, no down payment. Come on down to Southtown Toyota and get you a certified pre-owned vehicle today. I mean, like, the look was down. Gigi looked like he was pitching Sauvage. It's like Sauvage Dior. I mean, like, the look was all there. I mean, it's magnificent. I mean, DJ Crazy Times getting ready to drop the hottest EDM album of all time.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's the dark stage, the Morrissey stage.
And we're getting like a little deep cut here, Nick, but I mean, he is Eastern European, and that just it was perfect pitch.
Oh, absolutely it was.
I mean, it was he had the fashion was on point. That's all. I love that they did this. I love that the digital team put the nice, dark background right there. But Gigi won it. Gigi won it hands down. He needs to walk in the locker room now and establish his dominance and say, guys, like the full Ric Flair mode, this jacket costs more than your house.
Yeah.
You see this watch right here? I've got a $15,000 Rolex. I've got alligator shoes, Rolls Royce, the biggest house, the biggest hill, the biggest side of town.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to do this. And Dax has to just sit there, like, with his sweatpants on, right? He's got pictures of his kids up in the locker. He's like, guys, I'm just going to Papa John's tonight. Please, can we not do this right now? The kid is like missed homework yet again. I mean, I got to put together a popsicle puzzle by like 9:30.
I got a shoebox meeting. Shoebox diorama at a PTA meeting for Dax.
And your kid didn't, because I was this kid. Your kid didn't tell you until the night before it's due.
Not the night before.
Yeah,
I was
guaranteed.
Yes.
There was one year as a kid I didn't get to watch some of the NFL playoffs because I did that, and my parents were so angry. They're like, no, you're not watching anything for like 6 weeks.
Yes, see, I had nuclear ADHD, so that was me every week.
Yep.
Every week.
Asking Das's
yes.
Das's kids asking I forgot we had a school project, needed a poster board at 10 p.m. at
Yes.
night, you know.
That's right. That's right. He's looking at the kids like, Walmart's not open 24 hours anymore. Huh? You gonna go make one? Go pull a poster down from your wall.
Just gonna pull a piece of sheetrock down. That's your board.
Pull it down. We're gonna rip it down from the wall.
Here's some markers. Here's some markers and some Sharpies. Make a picture.
Also, gentle project reminder, ever.
Also, gentle reminder that DJ Crazy Times is Georgian, and if you have not looked up the history of the Republic of Georgia, go look it up and then realize that he is real high on that list of people you don't want to fight. Don't fight people from Georgia.
No, don't do it.
You don't want to.
If they made it this far, if their bloodline made it to 2024, I promise you don't want any problems.
None of that heat. You don't want any of that heat.
Requested required reading has been added to the Twitch pitch. Rapid fire with a couple of topics.
Okay.
Nix is asking. All right, and so I will ask the question, and then I will count 3, 2, 1. After I count to 1, I want the three of you to give me your answer.
Okay.
The question is up on the board. Is Cohen or Goose in goal game 1? You think in 3, 2, 1, go.
Goose.
Cohen.
Okay.
Oh, you rotten scoundrel!
Oh, really?
All right, hit me, Jarrett.
I think it's going to be I think it's an open competition.
Yeah,
and it's not a disrespect to Goose at all. I think they are going to push each other, and it's just a wild guess.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
It depends on how he is with the ball at his feet, how he communicates, and helps marshal that back line, because it's going to be you're going to have changes on that back line. You have a new rooted in center back next to Luis Abraham.
When Jarrett, when Guzan at the end of the season, should he decide to retire?
The season, he's going to powerbomb me in the locker room.
He's going to go. And then he's going to go to the digital team and he's going to cut a Cat Williams, like just full on takedown of you. And I hope you're emotionally and spiritually ready for this.
And we will record it and we will run it live in its entirety on the air.
Look, you can walk from the training ground
live, ready to go.
From the training ground, you can walk to Jerusalem Bakery, which is a fantastic restaurant.
Absolutely. Great place.
I will, if he wants to cut a promo on me like that, I will head over to the training ground. I will escort him over to Jerusalem Bakery and buy him lunch.
There you go.
Okay. I ain't even mad.
Yeah. All right.
We've got it on tape.
So which one of you guys? Okay, so either Matt or Jarrett, one of the two. I need to know, and this is from a bald guy perspective, okay? Because there's some of us out there. How many times is Guzan shaving his head, being outdoors? Because if you have shaved your legs, ladies, you know this. The minute that cold air hits, you get a little bit of the growth happening. It's the same thing with us who shave our heads. The minute the cold air hits it, it starts filling in. I need to know from Guzan how often he's shaving his head.
It's got to be twice a week at least.
Because he has no razor burn.
None.
Okay, there's no razor burn. There's no kind of ingrown hair. Nothing. I need to know how many times he's shaving his head, and I need to know what he's shaving with.
It's a huge missed opportunity if he's not partnering with one of these razor companies.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh,
yeah. Because I can tell you up close from interviewing him. Yeah, man, that thing is waxed like Krillin's head in Dragon Ball Z.
I always make the joke whenever he's in goal and I'm watching it, the glare of the lights. I'm he just shines it in a way and they're blinded.
Yeah.
I always make the joke because I'm it can happen.
Absolutely.
Hit the angle right. That's it.
Exactly.
Hit the angle right, blind them, and then Sleesh cleans them out.
Exactly.
Tilt your head down. You're in business. Nick's bringing in Messi and friends into the discussion.
Oh God.
Ooh.
Atlanta is traveling a total of 1,060 miles during their preseason. Birmingham, Athens, Tampa. Miami is traveling over 23,000 miles to El Salvador, Dallas, Saudi Arabia, and Hong Kong. That is true. So, but we talk about Messi and friends, and it is for the expansion of the brand, and it is going to be very, very intriguing to see. I still think that they're going to play. I think it's going to be Super Friends starting 11, starting the season. I think they're going to get off to this fantastic start. Everybody's going to sit there and be like Kevin in Home Alone when he realizes he's home alone, and you see the gif of him running up and down the stairs, and everybody's going to sit there with their hands waving in the air like they do care. And it's going to be a hot start. They're going to be the Invincibles of Major League Soccer, and then they're going to hang on. Because schedule compression, multiple competitions, all these kinds of things. Hot start and hang on. I think that's what happens.
I agree. It's hard. I even said this too when Messi first came to Inter Miami last season. I mean, they had a great run towards the very end. Everyone was talking like they're going to make the playoffs, and I'm like, no, they're not. They're not going to make the playoffs. That's A, impossible, and B, Messi's one player. Last I checked, soccer is a game where you have 11 players on that pitch and you have to work together. It's not just a one person can, change everything around. You have to have a good foundation in front of you. And yes, they're getting in some really good players, but I mean, I think they're going to get, I'm going to go kind of, I think it's going to be like a up and down type of season for them. I think they're going to have highs. They're going to have really high highs and really low lows. And we're going to really see the team fluctuate. But I don't know. I've always said that from the beginning, and I hate whenever I hear things and they're like, Messi's going to save Inter Miami. I'm like, Messi's one person. He needs a team to back him up. And
I thought you knew, Maddie, that Messi and friends have already saved Inter Miami. I thought you knew this.
I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't there for that. I'm sorry. I don't know. That's my opinion. I still think Messi is a phenomenal player. I mean, I think he is the GOAT. He's greatest of all time. But I just don't think that you can put that on Messi without having that other team. You have to have that depth around you.
Yeah, well, Jared, we know right now that it's going to be like take the over. Take the over with Messi and friends.
It is, and it's going to be interesting to see how they defend games. I mean, how they defend from front
foot. Wait a second. You just introduced a word into that sentence that I don't know exists with Messi and friends. The word defend.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I don't know if that's in their vernacular this year.
Better be, because we talked about this last year, Nick. When you have Busquets, who is an absolute artist on the ball, and we had one of these in New York in Pirlo.
Traffic.
You have an absolute artist on the ball. You better have somebody with him who, in his spare time, is running marathons.
Kromoski.
Because you got it. It's a lot. I don't hate the idea, John, but man, you were asking so much of some of these kids if you put them in that situation.
He's a young kid. Let him learn.
But to me, it's a matter of you're asking them to show a level of discipline that we don't ask kids to show outside of, MLS Next Pro. And we'll get baited to try and break shape.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard. They're going to make mistakes. You just have to hope that you outscore people. And what happens, again, same thing as other clubs. What happens when you go cold? Because nobody bats 1,000.
No, they do not.
What they have? 23,000 miles? Is that 23,000 miles he posted? Yeah.
Nick's did the math, and it's 23,000 miles.
Okay, so don't worry about expansion of brand. Worry about the expansion of those knee ligaments that these guys are going to be having fall apart, because you have Suarez, who was saying he's not sure if he's going to be able to walk correctly at the end of his career, talking about he's going to be playing. I don't know how many games. That's great. But, at some point they travel to Philly, and in Philly, the refs seem to let them get away with just about anything they want. So what's going to happen the first time someone goes nuclear studs up into Suarez's ankles? We'll see how that goes. Good luck to him. And I'm not saying he didn't get that down in Brazil. I'm sure he did. But how many more hits can he take? They traded away Kamal Miller. He was oftentimes the only person who stood between Calendar and oblivion. So
Yeah.
because Callender was sitting there having to like tap into the matrix to try to stop some of these shots, and Kamal Miller was the only one who was forcing these shooters to fire from an awkward position, right? And you send him off now. I mean, I okay, great. So it's like one of Beckham's kids going to be playing the back line.
Harvey Neville will not, because apparently they were asked about Harvey Neville's status, and they got a big old no comment.
Well, yeah, look, a ton of talent. They're going to score a bunch of goals early, and then physics, age, and the fact that these guys are going to Miami not to win.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to Miami so they can walk around Publix without having 1,500 paparazzi following them. Okay, this doesn't get talked about enough. Messi finally gets to be a real human being and not a space alien 24/7. His compatriots that, like Luis Suarez, gets to walk around Miami and be a human being, not a space alien. So it's something whenever you get to shut off, from having to guard yourself, from having to be on 24/7. This is either going to help or it's going to hurt. But to me, this seems like it's all of the things that people have said about MLS over the years. Retirement league, people are coming here to collect a paycheck, and yes, they're very good, but when the injuries start mounting, at some point they're going to be like, dude, I'm chilling in Miami. Like, do I really need to be given 150% right now for the US Open Cup or whatever, whoever we're playing? I mean, I don't know, guys. I think the wheels could come off of this thing a bit earlier than maybe people anticipate, and I'm willing to be wrong on this one.
All right, last topic before we get out of here, because we're coming back here in less than 12 hours to do the morning show. Our latest on and Michael Ruiz. Yeah, it's some combination of Krivtsov and Aviles right now. So, and Knicks, we don't know whether Messi plays at the Benz or not. It's going to depend on schedule compression, position in the table, all those times a year. So, we'll keep an eye on those kinds of things. The latest on Thiago
Michael,
Almada.
it's going to be the hopes and dreams of Miami playing center back. Hopes, yes, and then dreams partnering with them.
That'll be your center back.
Maybe somebody from Inter Miami too. And Buddy, as someone who watched Atlanta United 2 ship a lot of goals, Inter Miami 2 did even more.
Ladies and gentlemen, now coming in, number 99, Steve.
Yes, exactly. It's Steve. So the Thiago Almada thoughts, and Nick, I wanted to start with you on this. We're still looking at Thiago Almada being linked to Atletico Madrid, but once again, Correa has to go to the league that we neither discuss publicly nor talk about when they're going to be on TV or what have you.
Accurate.
So Correa would have to leave to go to the Middle East. Correa and Thiago Almada have the same representation. But now there has been another name that has been introduced into the discussion by Mateo Moreto, and it is Moise Kean. Moise Kean has now been listed as part of this, and Moreto has almost 260,000 followers on the 280-character app. He works for Relevo and SOS Fanta in Italy. And so Mateo Moreto is saying Moise Kean or Thiago Almada now as the substitute if Correa goes to the Middle East. For those that don't know about Moise Kean and his skill set and what he brings to the table, that's why I wanted to ask you first.
Yeah, Moise Kean is somebody who I think needs a new, fresh start. He's had a lot of opportunities at Juve to really become the guy, but the problem is he has a concrete ceiling above him by the name of Allegri, and Allegri is not going to let offensive talent completely show their talents out. It just doesn't happen. It's happening more this year because I think that he's had such substantial pressure from above, and Juve's financial constraints have forced him to sort of take the shackles off of his offensive talent. But I think the damage is done in some relationships. Moise Kean's one of them, and Moise Kean wants out. And he is somebody who has talent, he has ability, but not enough game tape of him displaying that talent. I don't think that there's enough of a relationship there to have them select Moise Kean over Thiago Almada. I think that when you start talking about those Argentine ties and you start talking about the people in Argentina who are reaching out to the Atleti staff saying, hey, look, man, and we know who this kid is and what he can be, but we got to get him out of the US first. So let's make this happen. Now, notice you haven't heard anything out of Almada's camp. And I think that the Correa situation, I think, is the prime reason why. If there's not the unified representation there, then you may be hearing more of Almada saying, okay, guys, it's time. Okay, it's great. Let's go. But because they recognize the roadblock in place and their single agent recognizes this, there's no kind of pressure on Atlanta United. So they can sit back and say, look, we're going to prepare for the season as we would. Keep us in the loop. We'll make a move if it makes sense for everybody. Let it play. But Mosa Ken, in my opinion, is not the guy who needs to make that move. And I don't think there's enough of a relationship there to do it. So I wouldn't put too much stock in this. They're just trying to find him a home right now because they need money at Juve. And if they can move him as a piece, you might get a little bit more than, say, an outside back or a 6 or an 8.
All right. Last thoughts before we go. We'll go around. Jarrett, your last thoughts on the day, on what I missed, and anything else left on the table before we come back here in less than 12 hours. Could be about anything, anywhere.
Minnesota United is still a mess.
Sorry,
that hasn't changed, man.
No, it has
not. Their GM still isn't here. He was supposed to be here this week. He's not. For those of you who missed the last time we updated this, they fired Inchi last year. They put an interim coach in place. Interim coach finished the season, into the playoffs, whatever, you reset. It happens. The interim coach has left to go pursue other opportunities. Now their second interim coach is currently in place, who was their second team coach last year. They are making some additions. We still don't know if Reynoso is going to be here, and he is every bit the linchpin on like how this team might be okay or this team might be a bomb scare. A lot of that depends on Reynoso, who is going to he's not quite up in the front pack with Hani Mukhtar as individually the most important player to a team's success or failure, insanity or insanity. He's close. He's probably second on that list. I think Almada, his last year, would have been second on that list for Atlanta, but the way they've rounded out this roster, I think that it's less centric on him. He just takes it from really, really confident and really fun to, oh God, the doors aren't closing fast enough. And unless Reynoso's going to be there from the start, unless they figure out everything, Reynoso, yeah. I know we used it last year, and I didn't want to recycle it, but I guess if we're going to recycle it, I'll be the party. I will happily be a slave to pressure.
It's vintage, Jared. It's vintage. Use it.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I am at a loss for words of Minnesota. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, well, he did. I'm disappointed. Maddie, last thoughts before we go.
Goodness. What is it? Nick brought up the reffing with Philadelphia. I mean, I'm excited for what's to come when we get to do some reffing down here with MLS. That's going to be interesting. Oh, yeah. Gosh, imagine us four on that 4-way call. I mean, it's going to be hectic. Yeah, I mean, a lot of fun today. It was fun getting to do all that Atlanta United stuff, getting to really sink my teeth into all that. I'm excited for more of it as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so let's go.
All right, Nick, last thoughts before we go.
Until next time, everybody, this has been The Quiet Storm presented by Soccer Down Here and our dear friends. Many numerous sponsors, which you can tune into at any time. Much love, everyone, and mucha euro y'all.
What he said. So before we go, Maddie, David said Maddie could have broken the show if she just asked for your thoughts on the third division game in Zambia. The soccer over there meltdown could be complete. So
it's not here to throw things, though.
Yeah, and then we get to try and find out about the latest about our friend Morrow and Wanda Icardi and all those kinds of things. And so David, this was Maddie's first chance. It was her first opportunity to do something truly after the sun sets. And so we wanted to try to bring her in with the stuff that she had done earlier in the day, and then then we carry on and go with the SOT madness. And so that's where we are. But no, thanks to now Maddie has to make sure that she's ready to go on Zambian 3rd Division. But right now they're in AFCON. I don't know how much of the actual play is
Don't
going.
worry. The next one, I'll have it all geared up, and we'll get it ready to go.
Pick a random country.
And Mongolia, right? We used to do numbers in Mongolia, John.
That is true. Yeah, we did juice boxes in Mongolian soccer as well. So anytime anything happens after the sun goes down,
juice boxes, we were like legitimately ranked among soccer podcasts in Mongolia.
absolutely, and that's the fun part about doing these kinds of things when the sun goes down. So, Nick, you want to go one more time and let everybody know that we're done for the night?
No, I did. I thought I did the Quiet Storm exit, John. You've completely thrown it back here. I'm not prepared now to get back to the Quiet Storm on Soccer Down Here. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you all. Until next time, good night.